The night of February 20, 2025, began like any other in the quiet town of Carroll County, Georgia, a small community where everyone knew their neighbors and life followed a predictable rhythm. But for one family, the routine would shatter in an instant. Sarah Grace Patrick, a 17-year-old girl known to friends and family as a church-going teen with a quiet demeanor, would become the center of a tragedy that would shock the nation. On that night, her parents, 41-year-old Kristin Brock and 45-year-old James Brock, were found dead in their home. Their bedroom door was closed, their lives ended by gunshot wounds, discovered not by authorities but by Sarah's youngest half-sister, only 5 years old. The child's terrified screams summoned help, and the reality of what had happened rippled through the small community like an electric current. Authorities arrived to a scene that was both heartbreaking and surreal. Police officers described the house as eerily quiet, save for the trembling presence of the youngest child, clutching a phone, calling 911. Sarah, still a teenager, would later be accused of shooting her parents while they slept, and then leaving her sister to find them. It was a claim that would stun neighbors, classmates, and the wider public alike. How could a child known for her normal life, her smiles at church, her quiet presence at school, be linked to such an unthinkable act? In those first hours, the town was left grappling with grief, confusion, and fear. Every neighbor wondered, how well do we really know the people closest to us? How quickly a life can be torn apart, and how even the most ordinary family can become the center of a tragedy that makes headlines across the nation. If you're drawn to stories that explore the dark complexities of human behavior and want to understand what really happens behind closed doors, make sure to hit like and subscribe now, so you don't miss a single episode of Behind the Yellow Tape. In the months following the deaths of Kristin and James Brock, the quiet town of Carroll County remained on edge. Sarah Grace Patrick, the teenager at the center of the tragedy, did not immediately face arrest. Authorities spent weeks gathering evidence, examining the scene, and piecing together the timeline of that fateful night. Finally, in July of 2025, a warrant was issued, and Sarah turned herself in to police. The image of a young girl, still in her teens, being led into custody sent shockwaves through the community. Neighbors, friends, and classmates struggled to reconcile the image they had of her as a quiet, church-going teen, with the accusations now leveled against her. Sarah was charged as an adult with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. Her legal team immediately began fighting for her release, citing her age and lack of prior criminal history. But prosecutors argued the gravity of the crime, the alleged premeditation, and her potential influence over the community made her a risk to public safety. Multiple hearings were held, and each time, the judge denied bond. The courtroom became a battleground, not just over the facts of the case, but over what it meant to try a minor as an adult, and whether a teenager could truly grasp the weight of such actions. In this chapter of her story, it is easy to see the tension between the mechanics of the legal system and the human element. Sarah's life, once filled with the normal milestones of youth, was now confined to the walls of a courthouse and a jail cell. Every day was a reminder that the world outside had changed, that her reputation was under scrutiny, and that the path forward was uncertain. For the people of Carroll County, the tragedy was not just the loss of 2 lives, but the collapse of innocence and the difficult questions left in its wake. While the legal system moved forward, another dimension of Sarah Grace Patrick's story unfolded online. Social media, a place where teenagers share glimpses of their lives, became an unexpected and controversial stage. In the weeks following the deaths of her parents, Sarah posted videos on TikTok expressing grief, pleading for prayers, and attempting to explain the unimaginable. Some posts were raw and emotional, others calm and reflective, almost like a diary meant for the world to witness. But in a case that would captivate the nation, every word, every gesture became fodder for speculation. Influencers and online communities dissected her videos, searching for signs of guilt, remorse, or something more sinister. What was meant to be an outlet for grief became, in the eyes of many, a digital courtroom where public opinion clashed with the facts yet to be proven. Some observers were disturbed by the apparent normalcy of her content, contrasting it with the severity of the allegations. Others sympathized, arguing that a teenager facing unimaginable circumstances would naturally try to process her world online. Authorities monitored the content carefully, noting the potential relevance for the ongoing investigation. The strange juxtaposition of innocence and accusation, grief and scrutiny, made Sarah's story all the more compelling and unsettling. Even in the isolation of legal proceedings, the reach of social media ensured that she remained in the public eye. Her posts sparked debates about accountability, youth, and the influence of digital culture on real-world crimes. As the community watched from a distance, questions lingered. How much can social media reveal about a person's character, and how much does it distort the truth? If this story is gripping you, and you want to uncover the hidden layers of true crime cases like this, take a moment to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss any future episodes of Behind the Yellow Tape. While the world watched from the outside, Sarah Grace Patrick's reality had narrowed to the walls of the Carroll County Jail. Tried as an adult, she was held without bond, her days now measured in routine, rules, and confinement. For a teenager who once walked the hallways of school, attended church gatherings, and spent time with friends and family, the transition was unimaginable. The environment, designed for adults, offered little in the way of comfort or familiarity. Sarah's life inside the jail was defined by isolation. With safety concerns cited due to her age and the nature of the charges, she spent much of her time separated from other inmates. Solitary confinement, even for short periods, magnifies the passage of time, turning hours into endless stretches where the mind confronts itself. The young woman who had once experienced ordinary teenage milestones now faced a rigid routine of meals behind bars, limited human contact, and the constant pressure of the legal case looming over her. Every sound in the cell, every knock on the door, served as a reminder of a freedom that had been taken, not by the state alone, but by the alleged choices that led her here. Prison life at such a young age brings not just physical confinement, but a profound emotional toll. The monotony can erode hope, and the weight of public judgment adds an additional burden. For Sarah, the contrast between her life before and after the tragedy was stark. The quiet streets of Carroll County were replaced by cold walls, locked doors, and a world of rules she could not bend. The uncertainty of the trial, the intense scrutiny, and the isolation combined to create an existence that many have described as psychologically devastating. An experience some would say is, in its own way, worse than the death penalty. As the months passed, Sarah Grace Patrick's future remained uncertain. The trial, scheduled for 2026, promised to bring answers to a case that had captured the attention of the nation, but also more questions. Motive, evidence, and the full scope of what led to that fateful night in February 2025 remained largely unseen by the public. For Sarah, each day in custody was a reminder that the world outside had moved on, while her own life was paused, trapped within the confines of steel and concrete. The broader implications of her story stretch beyond one family or one small town. It raises questions about justice, age, and accountability. How does society balance the severity of a crime with the age and potential for rehabilitation of a teenager? What does it mean to face the adult criminal system while still in the process of becoming an adult yourself? For Sarah, the answer is not simple. Each day in prison is a negotiation between survival, reflection, and the looming weight of what may come in court. The case also invites reflection on the human cost of incarceration. Sarah's world has been reduced to cells, guards, and routines, a stark contrast to the life she once knew. She is constantly under scrutiny, both legally and socially, and every move is interpreted, dissected, and debated. The reality of living behind bars, away from normal teenage experiences, relationships, and freedom, has proven to be a profound punishment in itself. If you stayed with us through this story and want to explore more true crime cases that reveal the human side behind the headlines, hit like and share this video with someone who appreciates in-depth storytelling. Don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Yellow Tape so you can follow every twist, turn, and hidden detail in cases like Sarah Grace Patrick's, where the cost of crime is felt far beyond the courtroom.